Hello, hopefully, okay, yeah, this thing does work. Okay. Well, great. Well, okay, this is my obligatory shadow ban. Not really a review, let me specify that. Because I haven't really actually seen the movie. So it's really not fair or to critique me on that angle. I just want to, yeah, disclaimer, I have not seen the movie Space Jam: A New Legacy, but I have seen most of the clips and everything, and I guess I just wanted to explain a few things just to help Warner Brothers, because I am a fan of Warner Brothers and I'm a huge fan of their media, etc. And perhaps I could explain a few things, perhaps to, just like my Disney video. These are just impromptu. These are literally just the customer saying, kind of what's on their mind or how they're feeling, etc. So they're, in that sense, they're invaluable because it's actually the customer saying stuff. So I'm a huge fan of Warner Brothers, etc. So here goes. Hopefully I can explain a few things and help you out, because I hear the critics like bombed your movie real bad. And in fact, it was only the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes that saved your ass. So anyway, continue. Here we go. So Warner Brothers, man. Well, how can I put this? When I was a kid, I was born I will say, in the 1980s. And it's one of those where, they would used to show like Bugs Bunny and like some of those classic cartoons on television and stuff, and you would see them every once in a while. And I remember that I thought they were really, really good. And I was a huge fan of Bugs Bunny, and I was a huge fan of the Roadrunner cartoons and Coyote. And I was in California, and there were actual real coyotes there that would, occasionally eat cats and, things like, they were very clever predators. You would see them occasionally, and they're very fierce and clever animals. Yep, and extremely resourceful because they were starving and usually thirsty. But anyway, yeah, I thought they were really cool cartoons, and they were extremely witty and they were extremely fun. And whoever drew them, obviously, it was painstaking, the process and the detail they would put into the physics of the cartoons, which, I mean, you'd see like a boulder flying through the air and just mechanical devices and real physics animated in extremely clever ways. And I thought it was super cool. Anyway, where am I going? This is just impromptu. I'm going with it. Fuck it, we'll do it live. So, if you lived in the 1980s, you knew that Warner Brothers had a really big adversary or competitor, which is called Disney. And Disney put out cartoons like the Gummy Bears, etc. And then you would see in the credits that most of the animation was done by Japanese people, or etc. If you look in the credits. So they came out with the Disney Afternoon, and that arrived right about the time that, I mean, to put that in perspective, they had these really crappy, stupid Hanna-Barbera bullshit, fucking, trash tier Jetsons, fucking garbage Yogi Bear bullshit. They just got fucking blew out of the water by the fucking Disney Afternoon. I mean, they just killed it, dude. I mean, after watching DuckTales, do you think you want to sit there and watch motherfucking the Jetsons and trash tier Yogi Bear and all this fucking Hanna-Barbera crap bullshit? Of course not. I mean, they couldn't even compete. It wasn't even close, dude. So Disney had an almost complete monopoly on that. I mean, the Disney Afternoon just blew it away. And for a while there, wow, that was hella loud. I'm like resonating like Toon. I'm like using my voice to resonate objects and shatter them. But anyway, where am I going with this? So in a way, you thought Hanna-Barbera was done, and you thought, by extension, possibly the Warner Brothers kind of thing, maybe that's just over, maybe it's done, maybe there's no chance for it to come back or whatever. But right around the time that Disney Afternoon did their thing, you began to notice that Warner Brothers had something else planned too, and it was rather ingenious the way they decided to angle that. They came out with a show that was called The Tiny Toon Adventures, and the premise was pretty simple, that, you know, the classic Looney Tunes characters would become teachers, and they would be like the sensei of their various schools of thought or styles of their particular knowledge or art form. And that was a really, really cool and ingenious idea. For example, you know, Bugs Bunny would be the teacher of his a particular angle or school, or you know, you would have Sylvester as his, he would be the sensei of how he does things, and each one of them had some sort of gift or knowledge or lesson to impart to, you know, the various students at the Acme University, I think it was called. And that was super duper cool. And that was actually happened to be right about the time that I was going through puberty, and that's when I noticed one of, well, I noticed all of them, but one in particular that I did notice was a character called Fifi La Fume. And she was this really super duper amazing, I almost want to say better version of Pepe Le Pew. That she was so similar to Pepe, but in creating the female version, it was one of the actual successful ports. Usually they don't work. Usually they're awful. But this would be one of the very few where, like, the female version seemed to work better than the male version, because she had a sort of feminine charm to her that was very endearing, whereas Pepe did occasionally have moments. He meant well, but he could seem like kind of a jerk, you know, at times. Whereas Fifi, and she was so much more elegant, and it was just extremely cool. And that's when Warner Brothers started to bring it back. You know, you didn't care about Disney so much. You know, you still thought Tailspin was amazing. You still thought Darkwing Duck was a really cool show. But increment by little increment, Warner began to capture the imagination of the audience, among other things. And you're like, hey, if only they had really cool furry versions of that. And so, going on the success, I think it was Steven Spielberg himself that was involved with Tiny Toons, and then had, I think, another show which was called the Animaniacs, which had one of my all-time favorite cartoon characters by the name of Minerva Mink. And she was apparently styled directly on scenes with Marilyn Monroe. That she was extremely clever, extremely witty, very charming. She wasn't a Karen. She wasn't an SJW. She just relied on her own charm and natural character, you know, to make these scenes. And to this date, it's one of my favorite cartoon characters in the whole world, from anybody. I mean, I like it better than anime any day, you know. I mean, it's just that, and she would go toe to toe with, I think it was Newt, and there'd be all these various little scenes where she would have to try to outwit Newt, and it was just extremely clever, extremely cool. She would sing, you know, she had all these talents and abilities at her disposal to, you know, either take on Newt or just, you know, enchant the audience, basically, just by her natural charisma of being Minerva Mink. So, you know, and then they came out with the original Space Jam, which is such a cool, amazing movie, and it's got Michael Jordan in it. It's got the dude who was in the Seinfeld as Newman. It's got Bill Murray, and it's just one of the freaking coolest movies that's ever been done by anybody. And it was originally done as a stupid marketing gimmick, but it somehow metamorphed into a work of art, basically. And Warner Brothers at this time could do no wrong. They were infallible. Everything they did turned to gold. Everything they did turned to platinum. They could do literally no wrong. They were on a roll. Everything was amazing and everything was cool. Everything was brilliant, and the money just kept coming. But okay, something blah 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 happened. A few years transpire. We all started playing video games. We all started playing MMOs. Maybe you played World of Warcraft. Maybe you played Final Fantasy XI. Maybe you played Flippin' EverQuest. I don't know. But let's be honest, we all started playing video games in the 2000s, and the whole Space Jam thing kind of fell off, and we all started doing other things. And anyway, that leads me into some of my thoughts on where Space Jam 2 is. And you can agree, you can disagree, but if you could just hit that like button to end my shadow ban status, I'm not sure when that began, but if you could just hit that like button or subscribe button, it would really help people actually see this video, which would be, wow, that would be amazing. But anyway, Space Jam 2, okay, alright, I'm just going to riff on this, agree or disagree, okay. Instead of Michael Jordan, it's got freaking LeBron James. LeBron Le China James is one of the most hated players, and I think he is literally the most hated player in the NBA. You can take that how you want, take it with a grain of salt, but he's the most hated dude in the entire sport, basically. For some reason, Warner Brothers thought it would be a great idea to have him star in the sequel to Space Jam, which that's not a good idea, but they went ahead and did it anyway. He's super ugly. He's so ugly that he makes Michael Jordan look like some kind of fashionista drag queen or something. Just you look at their faces and damn, LeBron is ugly. God, he's not only hated, he's freaking ugly. And I don't want to look at LeBron in a movie. I don't. Because he's ugly and he's hated by everybody. Okay, moving on. Other things I've noticed. That, okay, let me put this... I just finished talking about how the reason to like Warner Brothers was for Minerva Mink and Fifi LaFume for the various Tiny Toons and things of that nature. Okay, we get to the sequel, and it turns out that one of my favorite characters, or the inspiration for Fifi, is now deleted from the film for supposedly being, offensive somehow to the audience in some way, shape, or form. This is a character that, basically spent their time in the classic cartoons being so loving that he pursued Penelope, another one of my favorite characters, to try to woo her or try to love her, and he just wanted to love everybody almost to death, almost like an Elmira. And that was his flaw, that he wanted to love so much that he stinks, right? And that was his whole shtick. Well, he's been deleted from the film, but guess what? In a sort of questionable move, it turns out that Warner Brothers, to replace Pepe, has included in the film as potential role models for your family and others. Oh, well, it's A Clockwork Orange. Included in the movie, very visible in the movie, instead of Bad Pepe, is the entire crew from A Clockwork Orange, which they do horrible, unbelievably bad things, and they're front and center. There they are, and perfectly fine for your family to see and purchase and idolize as potential role models for your whole family. That's kind of a questionable move. Debate me on that. Then the so-called villain of the narrative, who is, I guess, this dude named Dom. There is a particular scene that I have seen. Once again, disclaimer: I haven't seen the movie. He happens to be playing a Nintendo Game Boy, and well, I guess that's really all it takes for you to become the central villain of the entire narrative. Is if, man, if you play those Nintendo products, watch out. You're going to be the bad villain of the story. Because apparently you're not allowed to play Nintendo stuff, and apparently to be one of the good guys, you have to idolize A Clockwork Orange and idolize shitty old Hanna-Barbera stuff like fucking the Jetsons and all those other shitty cartoons that got blown away by Disney back in the day. I mean, if you sit there and watch a Captain Caveman and the Jetsons and shitty old Yogi Bear, man, I guess you're the hero of the film somehow. Okay, I guess so, or whatever. You know, that just kind of didn't sit well with me. Agree or disagree? Do you think you should idolize A Clockwork Orange? That's the way to go, or should you go over to Disney and watch their stuff? Yeah, put it in the comments. What do you think? Another thing that I noticed from all the previews is the unbelievable overuse of the character Granny. There's a scene in Mr. Show, and it was, I think it had David Cross in it, and it was the sketch comedy back in the day. And they had this one sketch that was called Globochem, where they were doing all these weird little guinea pig studies on how to sell crap to people that they don't need or don't want, or or how to make the company relevant. And one of the things that they did is they had this. It was like Grandma Betsy's or something, as a marketing gimmick, and it was just kind of this lampooned parody of how not to sell something. And well, hey, guess what? Now it seems like, wow, we've got Granny in almost every other scene apparently because of the sheer number of previews. And well, I got to be honest with you, I don't want to see Granny. I don't. I want to see Fifi LaFume. I want to see Minerva Mink. And I want to see Lola Bunny not as a bag lady. That's why I would want to see a movie. I don't want to see Granny in every other scene because I don't like Granny. I don't want to see Granny. And I don't want to pay money for Granny because I don't like her as a character. I don't think she's charming or attractive or anything, and I wouldn't want to go see a movie with stupid Granny in it. It was bad enough she was in the original, I think. But anyway, those are just my thoughts. I heard they're doing a Space Jam 3 already because of the sheer number of negative critic reviews. But, perhaps one day I will stumble on Space Jam: A New Legacy and somehow, watch it for free, and maybe it'll be charming. Maybe it'll be great. Disclaimer, I have not seen the film, but what are your thoughts? Put it in the comments, and could you please, for the love of God, hit that like button and just tell me what you think, and I guess I'll go from there. So make of it what you will, and I hope you have a great day.